UARA National Tour. My name is Jake Wilson, and I'm pleased to be joined here this evening. Good to have my buddy from South Alabama Speedway, the voice of South Alabama Speedway, Mr. Ryan McCullough, with us here tonight. And Ryan, appreciate you making the haul over and getting to spend some time with us here. And great to have you here, and great to have this incredible event back with us again in the World Crown 300 coming back.
Absolutely, I appreciate you having me, Jake. And when the opportunity came about, when I was contacted by the folks at UARA a couple weeks ago about coming over here and being a part of the revival or the rebirth of the historic event like the World Crown 300, I jumped at the opportunity. And also to come to a place where, yeah, we're reviving a tradition, but we're also doing it in a little bit different style here at Cordele Motor Speedway. Absolutely astonished and impressed with the work that the Nolans and Enrique Rooks have done over here. I can't wait to see a 300-lap revival of one of the greatest traditions of short track racing a little bit later.
So one of the things you talked about, the procedure going to be a little different than what you might see on a typical Saturday night or for a typical event. For this 300-lap event, you're going to see qualifying on track, and you're going to see drivers heading out on track. They're going to take their qualifying lap. They're going to have points awarded from first all the way through the back end of the field. We're also then going to split them up into heat races. We're going to have 3 25-lap heat races. You're also going to get points in that race. That's what's going to determine our starting positions. So I love the joke all the time. It's I was told there'd be no math, but we might have to get our calculators out and work it a little bit here this afternoon. But it's going to set up for a great show. But the most important thing for the drivers that qualify on the front row, those 2 starting positions will be locked in as long as they complete all 25 laps of their heat races. And Ryan, looks like we are set and ready to get qualifying underway. We've got our first car headed out onto the speedway. This is going to be the 284 of Jim Brinkley behind the wheel, coming by to get the green flag. The drivers are going to get what we'll call a dead lap the first time by to get up to speed. Then they're going to take the green flag. It'll be a green-white checker from there, and we'll take the fastest times. The fastest time that's going to get recorded, and we're going in reverse practice order of how they finished earlier. So you're going to start to see some of the faster cars come out a little bit later on. So Jim Brinkley, 17.663 that first lap time by, and we'll see if he can pick up here as we've got our next cars getting ready to come out on track. Next driver on the speedway, driver out of Dallas, Georgia, in the Kaufman Trailers, Curry's Auto Service, Brinkley Racing Chevrolet, the number 97 of Terry McMahon, coming by to get his laps underway, coming by to see the white flag. And McMahon going to try to beat the lap time put down by Brinkley on that first lap, and McMahon's going to have a little bit of work to do, 18.026, about 0.3 of a second off of the quick time so far by the 284 of Jim Brinkley.
Next out to the speedway, the driver out of Lakeland, Florida, the race car engineering, Brinkley Racing, all makes collision center number 98 of Chase Lovelady. He's second currently in Auburndale Speedway, Chevrolet model points, 7 top 5s and 14 starts, 13 top 10s, and he did clock a top 20 back in March at South Alabama Speedway in the Rattler. Current fast time, we did say, was Jim Brinkley at that 17.663. Lovelady just completed his dead lap as he makes his way off of turn number 2 down. Well, we're not calling a back straightaway, it's a back stretch. If you've never been to Cordele Motor Speedway, it definitely has an arc to it. as they go from turn 2 over towards turn number 3. Lovelady's first lap will send him to the top of the board at 16.864. So a new fast time that everybody's going to be chasing is the 98 of Lovelady, 16.864. Checkered flag in the win for Lovelady, and he will improve it up to 16.658. And as we mentioned earlier, or as Jake mentioned earlier, you will have, or assuming you will get progressively faster as we are in reverse order of practice speed. So the faster cars come out late, with the fastest car from yesterday's practice session, the 96 of Derek Thorne, will be our final qualifier in just a little while. Onto the racetrack right now, a young man making his first super late model start, but the family is well-versed, Jake, in super late model competition throughout your home state of Florida. It's Blake Clouser from Lake Helen, Florida.
Yeah, Blake Clouser's made a trip up here to Cordele a couple times this year in his what would race in our pure stock division, but what he would run back at New Smyrna Speedway in their Thunder Stocks or their super stock division. Blake's been doing it all this year. He's been running a little bit on dirt, doing a little bit of racing on asphalt, and you can definitely tell a little bit of growing pains making the jump up into super late model racing. He was not very happy with the race car earlier in practice, but they're going to definitely try to make some gains on this, as Blake is a young and up-and-coming driver that you certainly want to keep an eye on. First lap there, he went second quick, and then right there jumps to the top of the board with a lap time of 16.639, 1900ths of a second faster than the 98 of Chase Lovelady. So a good solid lap there for the 5 of Clouser as we get ready to roll on. Qualifying continuing on here for the World Crown 300. You're going to see a couple of cars that looking pretty similar out here. You're going to see this number 58 machine. Whenever they roll in with the hauler on this thing, it always looks pretty sporty. They've got the Marines decked out, and a lot of people love seeing John Kaufman and his race team, and especially their hauler, roll in. Very, very patriotic team. They always support and put the Marines and Semper Fi on all of their race cars, and that's what you've got right here with the 50AC and John Kaufman, driver out of Live Oak, Florida, making the journey up here to Cordele Motor Speedway.
Industrial Painting Services, Kaufman Tack and Saddlery, and Strut Masters on the side of the number 58. 24th in the Rattler 250 earlier this season, and he also has 6 career starts in the Big Speed Fest event here at Cordele Motor Speedway. Best finish in that event was 16 twice, back in 18 and 22. Next one to the Speedway, a driver out of Sabattis, Maine. Norm's Used Cars, DMD Racing, Renegade Race Fuels, along with Strange Oval and Brembo Brakes. On the side of the veteran, Dave Farrington's machine. He's a regular competitor of the Oxford Plains Speedway in Maine and a 2-time winner on the Pass North Tour. Farrington right to the bottom of the racetrack in turns 3 and 4 will put his dead lap in the books, and we'll try for a green flag time this next time by. 14th in the Rattler earlier this year at South Alabama Speedway, 18th last season in the Bigley Memorial, and he has 1 start in the World Crown and its previous versions up at Gresham Motorsports Park. Farrington clocks in at 16.799, currently 4th fastest for the driver we mentioned out of Maine, and that's where he will in his qualifying procedures. Jake mentioned earlier that there were a couple of drivers that have similar looking race cars. We just saw John Kaufman's red number 58. Well, here's the black 58 being driven by Mobile, Alabama's Grant Thompson, those same sponsors as his car owner, Kaufman Tack and Saddlery. And also, he's the 2024 Mobile Pro Late Model Champion, making a super late model appearance here for the Kaufman team is Grant Thompson.
Grant Thompson's a pretty impressive young man that I've kept my eye on over the last few years. See him kind of come up through the ranks. We've seen great success in pro trucks, and he's won some big races in the pro late model competition. But anytime you get an opportunity to come and run with such a star-studded field like we have here today for the World Crown 300, Grant Thompson's going to gain a lot of experience regardless of what he does here. But I'd love to see what kind of show he can put together here tonight. But certainly going to have a little bit of work to do because he got some faster cars coming up. So far, so good for Grant Thompson, 16.416 as he is your time to beat so far.
On to the speedway now is Colin Albin out of Plant City, Florida, in the Race Car Engineering Lansky Law Group, number 67. A couple of super late model wins in his back pocket this season, the Auburndale Speedway down in Florida. He also has 5 top 5s in just the 6 starts down in the Sunshine State. Career best 7th place finish at Speedfest in 2023. And he is 23rd at Speedfest earlier this season. Had a big top 5 finish in Pro Late Model competition back in 2021 in the Snowflake 100. Kind of the house driver, I guess you would say, for Race Car Engineering and Steve Doerr's Super Late Model program these days.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job down in Central Florida. But you mentioned that run in the Snowflake a couple of years ago. That's what really kind of made Colin Allman a bit of a household name, and he's kind of ran with it. And he's done a lot of racing this year, coming up and running around in the Panhandle, doing a lot of Pro Late Model racing. There's been couple of occasions where they would go up and run at Pensacola on a Friday and come back down and turn around and come and run at Auburndale the next night. I mean, I remember him talking about some nights where they didn't get a whole lot of sleep, but they got the race cars prepared and they were good to go. All right, Ryan, so it looks like the number 33 getting ready to come out. Dustin Smith getting ready to take to the racetrack. Driver out of Mobile, Alabama, in the Smith Scrap Metal Johnny's RV. Number 33 in his Chevrolet. Has one Pro Truck win earlier this year at Mobile, coming off 10 starts this year with the Southern Super Series. A second-place finish earlier this year at Montgomery's, but not quite the year they were looking for over on the Southern Super Series side. But this is a driver that, if they can kind of catch lightning in a bottle here, they could definitely be somebody to keep an eye on.
Dustin Smith, time after time and year after year, when it comes to big race season, he's always seems to be able to qualify well. He does it at the Snowball Derby, does it at the Rattler 250 in March. He actually picked up his first ever late model win earlier this season at his home track at Mobile International Speedway. Look for this guy to try to put some speed on the board, as he always seems to get up on the wheel when it comes qualifying time.
And so far here for the 33 is Smith, third quick so far. And he's going to remain third quick, 16.482 his last lap time, by a little bit slower than the lap before with a 16.431. So still Colin Allman, Grant Thompson, Dustin Smith, Blake Klauser, and Chase Lovelady so far your Fast 5 to take time.
Nick Loden will be your next driver on the racetrack, and he's been to victory lane here at Cordele Motor Speedway this year. Not in a late model, however. It was in a Pro Truck. He's out of Stanley, North Carolina. The Longa Care Racing Products CB Partners machine for the 43 of Nick Logan. Like I mentioned, runner-up in the PLM on the Pro Late Model race here in September. Now upping it to Super Late Model competition here in the World Crown 300.
Very impressed with them this year when they came and ran with us the couple of times they did here at Cordele Motor Speedway. But you can talk about taking that big jump up into Super Late Model race. I love the Corvette emblem on the front of the car. And this is a great race team. They showed a lot of speed in Pro Late Model competition. And this is a young driver to keep an eye on that just continues to move up the ladder. Ran a little bit with the Cars Tour Series this year in their Pro Late Models, and starting to kind of dabble into some Super Late Model race. That's what I love about this race there this weekend, is you're seeing a ton of drivers that have great experience, but it seems like we've got a lot of young drivers that looked at this weekend as the weekend that they were going to jump up and make that first Super Late Model start.
Also, you got to love that wrap scheme that's on the side of Nick Loden's machine. You're not going to miss that car when we get under the lights a little bit later on. The blue and the yellow work awesomely together, and it stands out amongst everybody else on the racetrack.
No, sir. Yes, sir. And coming up now, we've got Jimmy Frazier behind the wheel of number 27. This is a car normally powered or driven by Cody Crucker. But you're going to have Jimmy Frazier behind the wheel, the QC Fleet Solutions No Sweat Chevrolet. Jimmy currently fourth in the UARA Sportsman Points Series. He's a former Pro Truck winner down at New Smyrna Speedway during World Series competition. He's got 6 top 10s in 8 Sportsman starts this season between the UARA Series and a couple of races over at New Smyrna. This is first ever super late model start. We'll see what kind of lap Jimmy Frazier can put down. Lap number 1 is going to go 5th quick, 16.532 for the driver out of the Central Florida area, Avon Park, Florida to be exact.
Talk about, wanting to jump into the deep end in your first super late model start. I'm not dipping my toe in. I'm diving into the World Crown 300. I mean, swimming with sharks is what this young man is doing right here.
I mean, you and I were walking down around the pit area. I mean, it's a literal who's who of super late models, and it's a young man right here who has had one incredible season in 2024. We saw it firsthand earlier this year over during Rattler weekend. Got the win in the pro late model race. Runs second to Bubba Pollard, and got a chance to go to Victory Lane at Talladega this year in the ARCA Menards Series.
I sat in the grandstands that weekend at Talladega and saw Jake Finch not just go to Victory Lane, but led every single lap of that ARCA race and never really was challenged in that event and parked that thing in Victory Lane. But then what about that day he had on that Saturday at the Rattler? Wins the pro late model race going away and almost picks up that maiden, that huge, the breakthrough super late model win. Just got outbuilt by many people consider the greatest of all time.
Yeah, and just remember that was a compacted schedule that day because of the change in the schedule that we had to make. So he ran those races literally back to back, and right now he's at the top of the charts, 16.360. Goes to 51F of Jake Finch and his Phoenix Construction number 51. I want to thank, of course, our friends at Phoenix Construction and his papa there, James Finch, for helping us out and stepping up and supporting us here this weekend for the World Crown 300. And for Finch, slowed down just a little bit there on lap 2, 16.379. But so far, he is the time to beat, 25 hundredths of a second quicker than the 67 Colin Allman. Get ready to welcome onto the Speedway now, Pinellas Park, Florida's Stephen Nasse.
We go from one pretty quick number 51 machine to another number 51. As Jake mentioned, the All-American Concrete Mitch Smith Auto Chevrolet for Stephen Nasse. 2 UARA starts this season, 26 at the Rattler, 4th at the Bigley Tune-Up race, and he was 2nd earlier this year at Speedfest. We always talk about the nasty whatever, the classy. Doesn't matter. Stephen Nasse is just flat out good no matter where he goes.
Yeah, he's a wheelman, and this is definitely an event. You think about some of the big marquee races that Stephen has won in his career. How big would it be to be able to add to that ever-growing list and become a World Crown 300 champion? Well, got a little bit of work to do. Lap 1, he's going to not be too happy with that. 6th quick so far, 16.486 for the 51N of Stephen Nasse. As Stephen brings it out of 4, we'll see what kind of pickup he's got on lap number 2. And he'll pick it up just a little bit. 16.455 will bump him up to 5th quick.
Nasse, you mentioned a former winner of big races. He's won the All-American 400 at Nashville. He's won the Winchester 400. He would love to add a World Crown to his impressive racing resume.
And how about the season that the driver of this number 23 car has had? Driver out of Indianapolis, Indiana, Billy Van Meter in the number 23. He has had quite the season. Win earlier this year with us here on the UARA National Tour at Owasso Speedway. Has got 12th, finished 12th twice here at the Speedfest events that we've had here at Cordele. But Billy's had a pretty solid year this year. And what bigger way to kind of cap off the season? Although they've got some big races still to come here throughout the rest of the year. But if Billy Van Meter could come out of here with a good finish and contest for the win, that would just go to show you that this team is here to stay.
Absolutely. The Van Meter family, been a racing family for decades throughout the Midwest, Northeast, and now in the South with Billy Van Meter. Huge win earlier this season, you mentioned at Owasso, but it would be by far the best or the biggest moment of his career if he could run well, potentially win a World Crown 300. And he will go towards the top of the board. What is that, 3rd place?
Yeah, 3rd quick there, 16.405 for the number 23 of Billy Van Meter. As the field continuing, we've still got plenty of fast cars to go. We're just almost about halfway through our qualifying session, so you're really going to start to see some of the cars that were up on the top of the speed chart. And right here is a 3rd-generation driver out of Naples, Florida. Coming up on Thanksgiving weekend for the 9th time, we are going to honor this young man's grandfather in the running of the Bill Bigley Senior Memorial 128, which will be the final race of the year for the UARA National Tour. And you see QC Fleet Solutions on the side of the number 28 of Dylan Bigley. Bigley, former track champion, down at the Freedom Factory, but it was DeSoto Speedway. He's got 5 previous UARA starts with the best finish of 6th earlier this year at the Bigley Memorial Tune-Up held down at the Freedom Factory. But for Dylan Bigley, he's going to have some work to do. 8th quick, 16.527. We're seeing drivers picking up about a 10th, maybe 2 on that second lap. So we'll see if Bigley, if that trend continues, and it does. 16.458 goes to 28 at Dylan Bigley, and he's going to remain. It's actually going to bump up 1 spot there. He'll go 7th quick.
And Jake, we mentioned before we got started that we expected drivers to be, each one that goes out, to be a little quicker because we're basing it off of practice speeds. Well, not necessarily the case, because you don't know what a driver was facing in practice. Do they have a fresh set of American Racer tires on? Were they on scuffs? Did somebody get in their way in traffic? So we assume that everybody's going to be a little bit faster, but it's proving that not every single car that comes out is quicker than the one that went before.
Well, we're going to want to keep an eye on the car that's on track now. Michael Goddard looks like he's having an issue down on pit road. Cannot get that National Roofing number 37 to fire. And here he comes, ladies and gentlemen, out onto the Speedway now. A driver that certainly knows how to get it done here at the Speedway, and a driver that has never won World Crown 300, but with it coming here to Cordele Motor Speedway, good opportunity and a good chance for Sonoya George's Bubba Pollard to cross that one off his ever-growing list of Crown Jewel victories.
When you look at the record books, you just assume, with being in the state of Georgia and Pollard running so much of his career in the Georgia, that he has a World Crown. Well, he never got one when it was up at Gresham Motorsports Park or Jefferson or Peach State, whatever you want to call it. But now that it's here, he has to go to the top of the board because he's just been so darn good here throughout his career.
Track is right in his wheelhouse, and a couple runner-up finishes in previous World Crown starts. But remember, it's been over 10 years since we ran this race last, and for Pollard, he has a method. There's a method to his madness. You're sometimes not going to necessarily see him overdo it in qualifying. They're going to set this car up to race, and he's going to settle in a groove, and he's going to put this race car exactly where he needs it to be able to contend for the win. But here in qualifying, 16.579, that is only good enough for 10th fastest out of the 16 cars that have taken time. So a little bit of a shocker there for the 26 of Bubba Pollard. So he's going to have some work to do, but again, it's not necessarily what you qualify, because you are going to have the possibility to move up during the heat race, and in those 25 laps, if your car handles well, that might be the opportunity for Pollard to gain some positions and start up more towards the front.
Pollard is a thinking man's race car driver. He's not the type of guy that's just going to go all out when he doesn't think he needs to. We'll see what he can do in his heat race a little bit later as we turn our attention to the driver out of originally Auburn, Washington, now calls the Mooresville, North Carolina area his home. It's Tyler Tanner, the Magnus Performance Parts Tracks Land Developed 9D Creative Toyota, was the 2019 Budweiser Crown champion at Evergreen Speedway. One previous UARA start, that was the Bigley Tune-Up race where he finished in the 22nd position.
Yeah, went up and ran up there at Evergreen this summer a little bit. We had him down at the Bigley Memorial Tune-Up. And Tyler's been coming down and running and supporting our UARA events here this season. And Tyler's a driver that has shown some speed, but just needs to have some luck go his way. Speaking of speed, top of the board goes to 65. Tyler Tanner, 16.327 there on lap number 2. A really good pickup on that second lap. And we mentioned Michael Goddard before had some issues getting going, but it looks like they've got that 37 car fired up. So you got the National Roofing 4M Services. Century 21, Curry Team Realty number 37. This is Michael Goddard. Also got FLF race cars on the back of that race car as well. Had a nice chat with Michael down in the pit area earlier. And a driver that, for years would just kind of focus his efforts racing in the Central Florida area, but he and their race team have really branched out and have turned into more of a regional and now kind of national competing team as they've been traveling all over the country here in 2024.
Been pretty impressive in a couple of UARA starts this season, couple of top 10 finishes. He finished 5th back at the Rattler 250 in March and also an 8th in the Bigley Tune-Up event. So, like you said, a guy that's branching out and finding success as he sees how he stacks up against national competition.
And he's a driver that over the last couple of years has kind of volunteered or worked with other race teams to kind of pick up some additional knowledge from some of these other teams, and now trying to apply it to their own race team to try to get some success running at some of these different racetracks. And for Goddard, his second lap will be as quick as 16.459. That's going to put Michael Goddard 9th quick so far out of the 18 cars that have taken time. All right, coming out on track now. This is a driver that went to victory lane earlier this season in pro late model competition here at this speedway. Got the biggest win of his career last season in the Bill Bigley Senior Memorial 128 down at the Freedom Factory. And you talk about how nice this facility and how great this place looks. Jet Nolan's parents, Greg and Lori Nolan, they have done an incredible job to enhance this facility, turn it into this. They want to make this a destination racetrack where you can come from all around the country to come support this event. And Jet and them, they get to call this home now. And Jet Nolan there in the Cohen Law Group and Nolan's Roofing number 50. Going to see what kind of a lap he can put down as Nolan is going to go 7th quick, 16.441 there on lap number 1.
Back in March at the Rattler 250, Nolan led so much of the early stages of that race before the car kind of faded with him towards the end. Showed right then in March that he had the speed to run with guys that he may not normally have been used to running around or up near the front of these UARA events, but he has certainly shown that throughout 2024.
Nice job there on lap number 2 for Jet Nolan as he'll go 13.371, 16.371. Goes to number 50 of Jet Nolan as we're moving along with qualifying. This is going to be Hernando, Florida's Michael Hine in the Mike Scott Plumbing Brembo Brakes number 69 Toyota Camry. As Michael Hine, another driver that started out racing kind of in Central Florida and over the last few years has really burst onto the national scene. But that first big win came right here at Cordele in Speedfest a few years ago in pro late model competition, as Michael Hine still chasing after that one signature super late model win.
That pro late model win on Speedfest Saturday on a bitterly cold Saturday afternoon. Michael Hine found victory lane there. Like you said, still looking for a super late model victory. Could it come today in the World Crown 300?
So far, 7th quick on lap number 1, 16.416 goes the 69 of Michael Hine. And I always compliment them every time I get to watch them. It's one of the coolest looking race cars you're ever going to see. As Hine comes out of turn number 4, sees the checkered flag, and he is going to go to 4th quick, 16.383 on lap number 2 for Michael Hine.
That paint scheme or that wrap for Michael Hine checks all the boxes. It's got flames, it's got America, and it's got chrome. I mean, what else can you ask for a race car?
We got more chrome here, and it was really cool to see the entry list come in from this race. We know we're going to get drivers from down south and from the Central Florida area that are going to venture up here, but to see drivers coming down from the Midwest to take part in this event, that's what this is all about. And this is going to be Plover, Wisconsin's Gabe Summers, who's had just an incredible year so far this year. This is going to be his first ever start in the World Crown event. Your 2023 winner of the Oktoberfest race, 21st in his only ever Speedfest start back here at Cordele in 2020. But Gabe Summers, this is a driver to certainly keep an eye on. That's had some great runs and some great success up in the Midwest Tour over the last few years.
Yeah, he was the 2024 ASA Midwest Tour champion, so this car has plenty of speed in it. The Maristem Crop Performance Quick Trip DeKalb Allied Farmers Promise number 15 Ford for the Summers Racing Team.
Bringing it out of turn number 4, going to look for a big pickup on lap 2. He's going to go from 13th. Actually, he's going to hold steady right there, 16.483. A little bit of a disappointing lap number 2 there for Summers, as unable to improve as he is currently, looks like he's going to be 13th out of the 21 cars that have taken time so far.
On to the Speedway now is a driver that we've seen make some cup starts this season for Colleague Racing. It's the 9K of Derek Krause. He's based out of Stratford, Wisconsin. The Shockwave Marine Seats, Kafka Granite R&J Auto Chevrolet, the 2019 ARCA West Series champion. 10 wins in the ARCA West Series. He has one World Crown start. This is his first UARA start this season.
Yeah, talk about what a year that he gets to have. You're going to do a little super late model racing here. We're going to mix in, you're going to go run some cup races with Colleague Racing throughout the year. Derek not running a full schedule this year, but kind of getting to pick and choose when and where he wants to race and what he's going to race, and trying to have some success and try to build their program and try to find something going forward here for 2025. Krause, that first lap, 16.570 went Derek Krause. That's good enough for 15th quick. Lap number 2, we'll see what kind of pickup we can get, and that's going to be a pretty good one, as he's going to jump up to 7th quick, 16.412 goes the 9K of Derek Krause. On
to the Speedway now comes a very familiar looking race car. Fans across the Deep South, especially here at Cordele Motor Speedway, might think, oh, that's Chris Davidson. Well, no, it's Chris Davidson's race car, but over the last several years, it's been Michael Atwell behind the wheel of the Davidson number 14. He's out of Naples, Florida. Davidson Electric, Drake Ready Mix, Mike Garvey Racing, and Universal Transmissions, along with painstaking tattoo parlor on the Chevrolet. A two-time Bigley Memorial winner and a two-time Florida Winterfest champion is Michael Atwell.
And Michael's had a good year this year running with the UA. He's committed to running the full UARA national tour this year. He's had some good starts. 6 starts this season, 2 top 5s, including 3 top 10s. The best finish of 4th coming up back at the Battle of Berlin 250 at Berlin Raceway. And you talk about combinations. When you take the combination of Michael Atwell and his crew that's based out of South Florida, you enter Chris Davidson in the mix. Oh, yeah, and we're going to put Mike Garvey in the middle of all this as well. That's a pretty good winning combination. And I feel like this team is just getting closer and closer to that signature win. And right there, second quick, 16.349 was the 14A of Michael Atwell.
When you combine the state of Florida, the state of Texas, and the state of Michigan together, that's a pretty good little trifecta of race car knowledge.
Coming up next, we're going to have Timothy Watson on the Speedway. This was a good saw him enter come onto the entry list. Going to be with Ben Kennedy Racing. Got Fury on the back of that car, and Timothy Watson, a driver out of Panama City, down in the Panhandle area of Florida. And we'll see what kind of effort Timothy Watson and this team can put together. Those Ben Kennedy Racing cars are always fast no matter where they go.
3 career UARA starts for Timothy Watson with the best finish of 10th back at the Rattler 250 in 2023. He's a former Outlaw Late Model Series champion at Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola, and he pretty much put the world on notice back in earlier this year in March when he put the car on the outside pole for the Rattler 250 in the UARA opener earlier this season.
Got some work to do here, though, as he is trying to work his way up the speed chart. 16th quick. Lap time is 16.516. That's Watson's first lap. And then lap number 2, he's going to slow down, 16.526. So Watson will remain 16th quick out of the 24 cars that have taken time. Just getting down here to our final, got about 6 cars left. And we've got some really, really fast race cars still to take time. And this is a young man that is starting to set the world on fire. He's been really, really strong over on the dirt side and doing some racing over in racing midgets and micro sprints, but starting to gain experience and gain knowledge here in asphalt short track racing. And any time that you can team up with Donnie Wilson and Wilson Motorsports, and you've got the backing of JBL and TRD and Toyota, Gavin Michelle's a driver to certainly keep an eye on that has a bright future.
Absolutely. Those Wilson Motorsports cars are considered top of the line everywhere they go, whether it be down south, in the Midwest, out west, wherever Donnie and the team decide to load up and take those race cars, they immediately go towards the top of the heap when it comes time to pick a winner. Gavin Boschelle showing that is no fluke when he gets behind the wheel as well.
And he's gone to the top of the board there on lap number 1, 16.278. Got a good one there on lap number 1, and he's going to slow down a little bit on lap 2. But so far, Gavin Boschelle is going to set the precedent with a lap time of 16.278. Tyler Tanner is second quick. Michael Atwell third. Jake Finch still fourth quick. And Jet Nolan rounding out the top 5 as we roll on. Another one of the drivers making the trip down from the Midwest. This is Austin Nason, who's made a few UARA national starts with us here this season.
Yes, he has. He currently sits 4th, however, in the ASA standings. But he was a runner-up at Owasso and Anderson this year, second the 2022 Bigley race. He is the 2023 Howie Leto Memorial race, the pride of Roscoe, Illinois, Austin Nason.
So let's see what kind of lap time Austin Nason can put down as we have 6 laps remaining in this one, or excuse me, 6 cars remaining in this one as we get down to the final few cars here in World Crown 300 qualifying. And for Austin Nason, he's got some work left in this one. 22nd quick on lap number 1, 16.672 goes the number 14 N of Austin Nason.
This is Nason's first trip ever to Cordele Motor Speedway. Kind of thrown for a loop just a little bit this weekend. It had a good run in practice, but qualifying just not what he wanted on the speed chart.
Yeah, he's going to bump up to 19th quick, 16.548 with a 19th quick qualifying effort. He has jumped 1 spot ahead of Bubba Pollard. Again, Bubba Pollard 20th so far of the 26 cars that have taken time. As we get ready to roll on with qualifying, got a driver out of Alabama, Connor Kresick in the number 14 on the Speedway.
All-Star Graphics Paragon, along with Metro Glass and Cito for the 2019 Speedfest winner here at Cordele Motor Speedway. It was the breakthrough win for Connor O'Kresick after he tried and tried and tried for numerous years to find his way to victory lane. He did so in 2019. Driver you mentioned out of Alabama, Mobile, Alabama is his hometown as he tries to find big win number 2 in his career for O'Kresick.
And he'd love to get it done here at Cordele as coming by. Take a look here as he's going to jump up to 8th quick, 16.396, 16.396 for O'Kresick. As the drivers, again, a little bit of a different format here this week. They go out and they're going to put down this qualifying lap, and they're going to receive points. And then they're going to set up into 3 heat races, which are going to then also equate to points. They'll be awarding 15 points to the winner of that. And that's going to help determine what our starting position is going to look like. And here's a special talk. We're going to be talking about this car quite a bit here throughout the evening. If you look closely on the hood of that race car, we lost an absolute legend in the sport here within the last couple of weeks. We lost short track legend Bobby Gill. He fought a very, very courageous battle against brain cancer. And the Richie Waters race team, they had that wrap on the car down at the Bigley Memorial Tune-Up, and Johnny Sauter straight up took it to him down there at the Freedom Factory, and they want to continue to honor Bobby. They left that tribute on the hood, and they're going to certainly be racing with some heavy hearts, and we're going to talk about a special tribute we're going to do for Bobby here tonight as well. But Johnny Sauter and that race team would love to try to get it done for Bobby, and so far so good. 2nd quick, 16.316 for the former NASCAR Truck Series champion.
This is his first career World Crown 300 start. You got to think, when he was coming up through his short track race, he made a start in the World Crown. Well, no, he did not. First time in a World Crown, he's trying to put another trophy on his mantle back in DeForest, Wisconsin.
Yeah, he had a great run down at the Freedom Factory back in September, and they'd love to try to back it up here with a big one here tonight. $35,000 going to the winner of tonight's World Crown 300. As you see, tires starting to get warmed up on the Speedway here. We talk about the young drivers that are stepping up and moving up into the world of super late model racing. You get to see the first super late model start for Seth Christensen, a driver out of Pendergrass, Georgia. And anytime you get to partner up with Ricky Turner, you're going to have a shot at a victory. And here at Cordele, they've had plenty of success, whether it's have been with Jake Garcia behind the wheel or a guy named Elliott. They've been pretty good.
Yeah, some guy named Clyde or something like that won some races. Also, here's something for your trivia bank here, Jake. While Seth Christensen's never won the World Crown 300, do you know that Pendergrass, Georgia has the all-time winningest World Crown 300 winner in Paul Kelly, who calls Pendergrass, Georgia his hometown. Freight Racing, Speed U, PNR Ammunition, and CB Partners on the side of number 45. Seth Christensen behind the wheel, and you mentioned the great Ricky Turner turning the wrenches.
And you saw Seth do something a little different there. He really took his time on that dead lap, got some extra heat into the tires, trying to make sure that he gets those temperatures up as they get ready to lock in here. And on lap number 1, we'll see where he charts in at 17th quick on lap number 1, 16.476 goes Seth. We'll see what kind of pickup they've got on lap number 2, coming out of turn number 4. And we'll see the start-finish line, and all the way to the top goes Seth Christensen at 16.262, top of the board. That was one incredible pickup there on lap number 2.
We'll see if anybody else tries to copy that style of tire warm-up and take a very, very slow dead lap to try to get heat in the tires. And speaking of tires, in an interview yesterday with Racing America, Bubba Pollard actually mentioned that tires were a little bit of a talking point this week, because this is the first time super late model cars have been to Cordele Motor Speedway on American Racer tires. They've been on other tire brands in the past where they've raced here, so it's a little bit different of a comp and a little bit different of a feel. Pollard's trying, and some other drivers are trying to figure out what's the best way to save these tires and get maximum durability and speed out of them.
Let's keep an eye on this driver here out of Kannapolis, North Carolina. This is Matt Craig, former Cars Tour Super Late Model champion and former All-American 400 champion. As he comes by and completes lap number 1, he is going to jump up into the top 5. 5th quick at a 16.346 goes the 54 of Matt Craig.
Matt Craig does have one former World Crown start. It came and the most recent one back in 2014. Finished the top 10 in the 8th position for the driver of the 54.
Picks it up speed-wise, but unable to move up the speed chart with a lap time of 16.339 goes Matt Craig. As we are down to our final qualifier, and when the entry list came out, this was a driver that his name kind of stood out and flew off the page a little bit, making the long haul from Bakersfield, California, former Snowball Derby champion, the number 96 of Derek Thorne.
Derek Thorne is basically the man out on the West Coast and the Southwest, a 6-time SRL Southwest Tour champ, 2-time ARCA West Series champion, 2 previous UARA starts. They both came at I-44 Lebanon Speedway, where he finished second, like you said, mentioned all-time lap leader in the history of the Snowball Derby. He's won that race, done everything there is to do except win a World Crown 300.
Let's see if he can add that to his resume. Lap number 1 in the books, and he is going to jump into the 8th position, 16.364, about 1/10 of a second off the quick time from Seth Christensen. Can Derek Thorne pick it up here on lap number 2? And it looks like he is going to slow down 16.537, and that is going to keep Derek Thorne locked in that 8th position. So if we take a look at our top 10 and you look down there in the pit area, that is where you will find our fast qualifier, the number 45 of Seth Christensen and the number 24 of Gavin Boschel. Both those drivers, those top 2 starting spots are going to be locked in as long as both drivers are able to compete and complete all 25 laps of their heat races. So it looks like, depending on if they have any kind of an issue, we know what our front row for tonight's World Crown 300 is going to look like.
And if you took a survey of the grandstands and probably the pit area too before we started qualifying, I don't think Christensen and Boschel would have been the pick to have been first and second. But however, when it's all said and done, here we are. But it's heat race time coming up. Now it's not about 2 laps. It's about multiple laps, 25, 30 laps. How can my car be fast for that run and work my way up to earn as many points as I can to set myself up in good shape for our feature later on?
The rest of your top 10, Johnny Sauter clocked in 3rd quick. Tyler Tanner was 4th. Matt Craig 5th. Michael Atwell 6th. Jake Finch was 7th. Derek Thorne was 8th. Connor O'Kresick was 9th. And Jet Nolan qualified in 10th. And now the way we'll break up for these heat races, which will take place coming up here in about 45 minutes at 4:30, you're going to break them up into 3 heat races. So you're going to have 1st, 4th, and 8th are all going to be in that first heat race. So you're going to have Seth Christensen and Tyler Tanner on the front row of heat race number 1. Heat race number 2, you're going to have Gavin Boschel and Matt Craig. And then in heat race number 3, you're going to have Johnny Sauter and Michael Atwell bringing the field to the green. Well, we appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in with us here, and the grandstand's starting to fill up here at Cordele Motor Speedway. Jake Wilson and Ryan McCullough, we're going to step aside for just a few moments. Be a good opportunity to head down and get yourself something to eat or something to drink, and we're going to have heat racing action coming your way coming up at 4:30 here at Cordele Motor Speedway as we get closer and closer to the start of the World Crown 300.